Welcome back to this once-in-a-lifetime trip to the Galapagos Islands. Our initial excursion was a panga ride through Black Turtle Cove. We were surprised by a flock of diving blue-footed boobies. This is the 12th video in our Galapagos Island series. This video will include much more in-depth teaching. Frigate follow us to Daphne Island. Daphne Island was different. The science team rested on the top deck while the Galaxy took us to Sullivan Bay. The lava fields on Santiago Island were fantastic. They can only be described as otherworldly.
We're currently looking at a nice group of blue-footed boobies here resting on the rocks. We are in Black Turtle Cove off the northern coast of Santa Cruz.
This one's trying to do his dance up there. Look, one on the left.
Looks like it. This is doing a one-step though. It's doing a one-step. Up on the rocks we have a common species here in the Galapagos, the apunta cactus, or the giant prickly pear cactus. Each island seems to have its own variation. And right here we have nice lava gull. It's actually a fairly rare gull to see in the Galapagos because there's only about 1,000. It's believed to be the rarest gull, primarily a scavenger, and it'll occasionally raid nests of birds and sometimes iguanas and turtles, and mainly it'll prey on those young. There's also another type of gull we see commonly in the Galapagos that feeds completely at night. That's the swallowtail gull, and it'll feed anywhere from 32 to 80 miles offshore. And it uses its the bioluminescence of the fish and squid it sees at night to fish, as well as its superb eyesight. We've made another rare sighting out here in the Galapagos. It's a group of homeschoolers on an inflatable raft. As you can see, they're rather slow specimens. They're taking their time to observe everything, eager to see maybe a shark or a ray. They're currently practicing observational science.
Come on, you're gonna die. The only thing that we can see around here is that we have most of them are males. Look at their eyes. Oh yeah. Look at their eyes. Most of them are males. You know why is that? Why do we have all this group of males hunting and females are not here?
Where are the females? On the other island?
Guarding the nest? Oh.
And it's the
Got
thing
the
is
nest?
the male. Well, that's one reason, but another reason is the males are different size than the female. So males, the weight of them, as they can say around the shallow places, it's not the females not like that. So this is why I think there's a group of males and also females around there. But sometimes we have like few females around there, but actually that's normally going to be females hunting together and males hunting together. There's a weight for them. See around here, most of them are males. For the eyes.
I have lots of
Right now we have a chance to take a look at a striated heron. It's very similar to the lava heron, also found in the Galapagos. It's part of the heron and egret family that we see commonly around the Galapagos. That's the family Ardidea. The main difference between egrets and herons is that egrets are generally white.
Look at the image here. See that?
He's squawking for food.
Yeah, because it was finished just a few minutes ago. Mother is
Yeah, she was in there.
Yeah.
It's an amateur lava heron.
It's an amateur lava heron, and you can get confused with a strided heron. But this one here is a little bit darker. You see the stripes that it has, and it is an amateur.
There's two of them. Oh, it says wing. Okay.
Wow.
Oh, is that a lava dome? That's a lava.
And it's hungry. You can hear
Yeah.
that voice is a hungry baby.
Oh, they're ugly when they're babies. They're just all kind of scraggy.
There's the mother.
That's it.
My dear baby.
Oh yeah, the mother is there. Yeah, look. So we are at the north part of Santa Cruz Island. This is a black turtle cove. It's one of the beautiful places we have for the birds and the fish. You know, animals around here. It's a very good place. It's a mating place. It's a feeding place. And actually, everything is because we have mangroves around here. So the little fish and also sharks, they stay around this place, not the big sharks. Because it's a good place, you know. These mangroves provide a lot of food to the little animals and also protection. So this is why they are here, you know. A veces en el islote de allá también hay. Peguémonos al islote a ver si que. Después de que termine de filmar. Ahí inside is.
Here's the pelican on top, huh?
It's a brown pelican.
Purdom, we've seen so many species of finches out here, and I did a lot of research beforehand and tried to learn about the 13 different kinds. I mean, we have 3 different species of small ground finch, or we have a small ground finch, a medium ground finch, and a large ground finch. We have a small, medium, and large tree finch. We have a mangrove finch, a sharp-beaked ground finch. We have a cactus ground finch, a large cactus ground finch. We have woodpecker finch. And I think that's about all of them.
Mangrove.
Mangrove finch,
Mangrove
there we
finch.
go. There's 13 of them, there's a lot. And every time we see them, I like to think I can identify them. But they're just so similar. And the thing that is just different is their beaks. And that's the only way I can really grasp onto that. Can you explain a little bit more about why we see the variation in the beak size but nothing else?
Well, at least among the ground finches and the cactus finches, they've done a lot of research to kind of determine the genetic factors, at least, that are responsible for this. You know, we see a lot of variation in different characteristics among all the organisms on the islands, but the finches have been studied probably the most. And so at least as far as there's two main factors that are involved. There's a gene called BMP4, which BMP stands for bone morphogenetic protein. So it's kind of a big, so we just call it BMP4. That is responsible for the breadth of it, so to speak, the width, how broad it is. So that's one gene. And they find that in like the large ground finch, which has the big, you know, really wide, broad beak, that it's expressed at very early stages and at very high levels in the embryonic tissue that's responsible for forming the beak. And as you go to the smaller ground finches, you don't see it expressed as early or as much, and so that's why they have their beaks are not as broad. Now, as far as the length goes, it's a completely different gene. It's the calmodulin gene, and that gene is responsible for calcium signaling. So all things associated with bones and that we would think of probably. And what they noticed there is, especially in a cactus finch, because it's specialized for feeding off the cactus, the flowers and such, and so it has a very long, sharp, pointed beak. It's expressed, again, at very high levels, and so you get a much longer beak than you do in some of the ground finches where you have a much shorter beak. And so what's neat about these two genes is that they act independently of one another. And so that's why you can get this huge variety of beak shapes and sizes in all of the finches. And so from the cactus finch that has a lot of the calmodulin, so it's very long, but very low levels of BMP4, so it's very narrow, to the large ground finch, which has very high levels of the BMP4, so it's very broad and wide, but very low levels of calmodulin. chromosome, so it's very short. So it's amazing that gives the variety. And in any population here, even among the large ground finch, you're going to see some variation. And you want that because that allows the organisms to adapt to their particular environments, whatever the food sources might be, predators might be, so they can adapt very easily, not changing from one kind of animal into another kind of animal, but just allowing adaptation within that particular species or within that particular finch kind.
Okay, so you use the word adaptation. Can you explain kind of the difference of where we come from as creationists, seeing a divine designer behind the fingerprint of God in these finches, and what evolutionists believe? Where do the paths diverge?
Right, and that's the interesting thing here. We have, we were talking about before about the difference between what we're doing, which is observational science, and we can study what causes the changes in the beak shapes, the factors behind it, how the environment's affecting that. We can study that. That's observational science, and we can observe that, the species, we can see changes within the species, but not one kind of species becoming a completely different kind of species, and that's where we differ from the evolutionists, in that we believe in the variation within the species or variation even within the kind, like the finch kind, but not, for example, a dog becoming a human being or, whatever. We don't see those kinds of changes. And there is no mechanism that can allow one kind of animal to change into a different kind of animal. There's no genetic mechanism. And that's probably the biggest factor, at least for me, the biggest piece of evidence that they're really missing. It doesn't matter how much time you give it. If you don't have a mechanism that allows you to add genetic information to go from one kind of animal to another, it will never happen.
Okay, so I read a lot about mutations and things within species. Is that a way that there could possibly be an introduced amount of genetic information that could cause these variations?
Well, mutations, what we have found, everything that we've observed to this point shows that they don't add genetic information. They either take away or they just allow an alteration of it, but not adding the information that you need to go, for example, from a bacteria to a human being. Because you can't just tweak the DNA or mutate the DNA that's there. You've got to seriously add some major amounts of genetic information, like how to make brains, eyeballs, all of that, in order to get to a human being.
This whole time I've been thinking, I forgot the warbler finch. It's one of my favorite ones. It's the easiest to identify because of its song.
That's right.
Are they getting the updraft on the front of the boat? I got a question. How are they doing that? Do they have the updraft? Watch them in style. Now there's a group of birds.
Heard Dad say that.
No. That's what happened. No, that's happened. Right there. Yep. First time.
No, mine either. But there's a couple more of Tom's.
Mr. Smith.
Yes, ma'am.
Here comes the Paul guy. But I might not have
Daphne, Simmer Island, Valtra. Have a white sandy area there. It's Mosquera Island. Next side we have a Beansall or Duncan Island. Down below.
Well, I think my favorite animal has been the Galápagos penguin. The Galápagos penguin is endemic to the Galápagos Islands, which means that it only lives in the Galápagos Islands and nowhere else in the world.
That's very cool.
Yes, it is also the third smallest penguin in the world and the most northernly living penguin in the world. It is the only penguin to live north of the equator.
Very neat. Now, what kind of things does this animal eat?
Well, the Galápagos penguin only eats small fish like mullet.
Oh, very cool.
But it's predator to really big fish like sharks. It is also a monogamous animal, which means it only finds one mate and it mates with that animal for life.
Oh.
It can have up to 2 eggs at one time, and it can lay 2 sets of eggs 3 times a year.
Wow, that's very neat. Now, what about its size and different things?
The Galápagos penguin is about 5.5 pounds in weight and about 50 centimeters in height.
Wow. Well, that's very neat to hear about. Definitely a very cool animal.
It is. It's really neat. It is also the body features are, it's like black, but when it gets to be old, it has kind of like a white stripe going across its face, but they don't have that when they're juveniles.
That's very cool.
Yes.
Let's take this opportunity to have the science team introduce themselves using the middle deck as our studio.
Hi, my name is Ryan, and I've enjoyed being able to see the contrast. Hello, my name is Daphne.
Wow! But having everyone talking at once wasn't very clear. So again, individually.
Hi everyone, my name is B, and my favorite thing that I saw was the blue-footed boobies diving into the water, then popping up like a buoy.
Hi, my name is Lily, and I love seeing the little fuzzy penguins dive into the water for fish.
Hi, my name is Reeves, and I enjoyed seeing how big the giant tortoises were.
Hello, my name is Haley, and I've loved being able to see the frigate birds.
Hi, I'm Kevin, and I've enjoyed having the chance to see the many species of Galapagos storm petrels out here that can practically walk on water.
Hi, my name is Holt, and I've loved the opportunity to watch the marine iguanas sneeze the salt out of their nostrils and have it land back on their head.
Hello, my name is Michael, and on my trip to the Galapagos, I've enjoyed seeing the sea lions and their playful spirit.
Hi, my name is Mallory, and I have enjoyed being able to see the contrast between when the waved albatross is awkwardly walking on land and when they're gracefully flying in the air. I think it's absolutely fantastic.
Hello, my name is Caitlin, and I was impressed by the flightless cormorants, especially their unique wings and how wonderfully designed their feathers were. They happen to be cute, too.
When I think of the Galapagos Islands, I think of ground zero, meaning this is really the place where we need to take a stand. Do we believe what God has to say, or do we believe what man has to say? This whole trip is about being on the trail of looking for God's fingerprint out here. He has shown us so many things. Even our naturalist continues to say, oh, you're so lucky. Oh, you're so lucky. Most people never see that. We know it's not luck. And just to point out one thing that blew my mind. Here we were on this island watching all these iguanas. How did they know it was low tide and they needed to swim out to feed? Now, if that's not an innate God-given ability, I don't know what is. And then they would sit on the rocks with their little heads poked up, and after a while we noticed the tide was coming in, and all of a sudden all we could see in the water was lots of little heads bobbing as these marine iguanas swam back to their mainland. Next thing I'm seeing, they're all lined up beautifully on the rocks with their backs facing towards the sun so that their warmth could be gained from the sun because, of course, being cold-blooded, their temperature changes according to their surroundings. And they just all lay there, very comfortable. There's no such thing as personal space. Many of them would be on top of one another. But it was amazing. You don't need a watch in the Galapagos because at about 11 o'clock, they turn around and out they go to swim and feed. And that's their lunchtime. how did all this just happen? I don't believe it did. I think we were seeing God's fingerprint displayed in the most magnificent way. And I must admit, I do not think that these creatures are ugly. I think they are magnificent in their own right.
Many times I have heard and studied about the Galapagos Islands, and you always hear about the marine iguanas, the giant tortoises, the blue-footed boobies, and many other animals. But while we have been here, we have been able to see all these things. But one of the things God has let our trip be able to do is see so many other things, like seeing the mating sea turtles and seeing the marine iguanas spray their salt just so many times, again and again and again, which has been such just an amazing sight to be able to see. So it's just amazing to see how God has been working on our trip, so we can see all these great things.
Well, we're in James Island. This is one of the biggest in the Galapagos, and we have a new lava field around here. This is Pahoehoe lava. This lava actually flowed for about 3 months, and we are in a new line here, part of the hotspot that we have in the Galapagos. So this lava just arrived here from the other side of the island, the volcano we cannot see from here. But we have also some cinder cones around that we can see the difference between the old area and the new area. And also some plants around the other side where we can see that it's a really, really old place. But this area is just a little bit more than 100 years. The last eruption here was in 1897. So the lava flow into the ocean a little bit, and we have also Bartolome around the other side. So there's another material, there's a tooth cone. But around here is just, everything is just all these famous lava, same as in Hawaii, Pahoehoe lava. Very nice formations around here, strange formations, and we have also a little uplift places. You can see some cracks and some fissures around here, and some little tunnels and bubbles around here. It's a really very interesting place.